Now, taking the field, please welcome Soda City and your home team, Carolina Core.
Tradition. You can't buy it. It's earned the hard way over decades and eras. On the field, on the road, in the mud. With guts and with grit and firm belief that today could be our day. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is back. Still alive, still kicking, the oldest prize in American soccer. 96 teams, part-timers to major leaguers. Survive and move on, lose and you go home. So we call all underdogs dreamers and believers. And we ask you again one simple question. Are you up for the cup?
64 teams entered the first round of the 2025 U.S. Open Cup, and we whittle them down here on day 3 of the first round. MLS Next Pros Carolina Core play host to Soda City out of the UPSL. Alongside Eric Dobransky, Michael Watring coming and stay a while with us here tonight. It's the 3rd oldest ongoing soccer tournament in the world and the oldest annual team sports tournament in the United States. The 110th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, featuring 96 teams. LAFC of the MLS won last year's final. And when you look at this Carolina Core group, they were one of 3 teams last year to make the 3rd round because of Joshua Rodriguez. He scored 2 game winners in last year's run.
And looking to duplicate that run from last year, and Rodriguez has proven to change matches with his goal-scoring ability. He's progressive and multi-dimensional on and off the ball. Look for him to make a massive impact tonight.
His impact certainly will be felt. And then on the other side for Soda City, Hakeem Martin had 2 goals in that winner in the UPSL Fall Championship.
And sometimes the most important things when you get these unique matchups is showing a consistent threat, and that's what Martin's going to do. Try to hold up play in possession, but also add that verticality to Soda City.
So here's a look at the starting 11s for these two sides. Andrew Pannenberg gets the start in goal for Carolina Core. When you think of MLS Next Pro teams, a lot of times you think of a lot of roster turnover. Not necessarily the case for Carolina Core this year.
Yeah, you're going to see the consistency, and you're going to see the identity showcase tonight. And I think I go back to the unique matchups. These teams aren't overly familiar with each other in terms of the style, the identity. So a lot of problem solving in real time, and then identifying what the game is presenting, and then adjusting, collaborating, and doing it collectively.
It's going to be a fun night here. One of the 7 matches in the U.S. Open Cup. And the final spots will be decided tonight and tomorrow to wrap things up. You have Carolina out in the white kits, and you have Soda City out in the light blue kits here this evening. Our referee is Joe Surgeon, and we are ready to roll here from Truist Point Stadium in High Point, North Carolina. It's the 2025 U.S. Open Cup from North Carolina. And before kick, with the observation of Ramadan, one player an opportunity to break that fast at this moment. And certainly that has happened the last few days, and all players respective of that moment for the players that are observing Ramadan during this time. But it looks like we're ready to go here. Everybody all settled in here on this evening. Looks a little windy across the pitch, but it is a great sight for action here in the U.S. Open Cup. This will be the 5th match to kick off here this evening, and Carolina Core will start things off with possession. This match is underway. It's Carolina Core and Soda City, separated by 170 miles between the Carolinas. Well, it should be fascinating to see how this match turns out. Soda City, an excellent year in the UPSL last year. A lot of players in that low 20-year-old range match up favorably in terms of age range, but not necessarily an experience to Carolina.
And their first Open Cup appearance in club history. Now that the bid goes to that spring national champion, back-to-back national champions for Soda City. And it's going to be about opening exchanges, winning individual duels. How does that change the narrative moving forward? And for Carolina Core, obviously a team that has started their regular season, the identity's there. I think when it comes down to it's how can your backline influence both sides of the ball? And I don't want to pin it on one unit, but a lot of it is how can you not only own your defensive responsibilities as a backline, but also play make from those positions as we see the turnover.
And a little bit of possession now. This ball arced across the park. Nodded back out of trouble. Well, Soda City trying to do what Foro did yesterday, and that's advance in this tournament, a fellow UPSL club. There's 500 total teams in the UPSL. Those are the 2 that advanced to the U.S. Open Cup this season. And Foro taking out USL League One's Texoma 2-1 yesterday. Overall, 5 amateur sides have advanced into the 2nd round, and those matches will be played in just a couple weeks, with the 32 advancing teams squaring off all to get ready for the round, or the third round of this U.S. Open Cup.
And you mentioned Foro. Foro did it with patience and picking their moments. They knew that they were going to have to suffer a bit. They weren't going to see as much of the ball as maybe they typically would in their regular season, but asked a variety of different questions of Texoma. And Brian Padilla with a brace in that game. That's what it comes down to sometimes, is that individual brilliance. Can you change the match?
Those will be the questions that'll be answered here tonight. So often in these matches, possession leans heavily on the professional side, but it can be a little bit of transitional moments that can ultimately change things. And that's what we'll be looking at here this evening, with Soda City playing against Carolina Core, making that roughly 3-hour drive across the state lines.
Talked to so many coaches and players going into the U.S. Open Cup, and obviously the unique challenge of preparing for a team that you don't typically see. Obviously that's what makes the tradition of the U.S. Open Cup so fun and so entertaining. But when you talk to the coaches and the players, sometimes they feel a little bit more freeing from it, because it's not the preparation of a scouting report. You're not doing film reviews. You're really just concentrating on your structure, your identity, how you want to execute. Obviously, you're gonna take what the game gives you as well, but it does give you that ability to just frame it in that way, and maybe you just execute it at a quality that is what you need for the result in advance.
Rodriguez wins his team a corner after that run across the field. Jacob Evans prepares for this corner kick. The 27-year-old grew up in England, played collegiately at UNC Wilmington. Evans boomerangs this ball inside of the 18, and the header goes high and wide in the end.
We've seen here in the first round the influence and impact of set pieces, free kicks, corners. The whole array of restarts, long throw-ins. I mean, those are the things I was just talking about, the freeing aspect of preparing and just concentrating on yourself. But that is the aspect that it does leave some sort of disadvantage for both sides, because you just don't know how the setup. And if you've been able to rehearse something clever, or you have something put together, you can showcase it right away, and you need to execute it at a high level. But that's something that we saw yesterday a number of times when Knoxville took advantage. They scored on all 3 set pieces that they had. Well, they had more set pieces, but they scored 3 goals against Appalachian FC.
New player down back behind the field. Everything was happening, so an injury to a Soda City player early on in this match. I think, to your point, you spend so much time in the preseason, you have those exhibition games, you have so much training. Now you get an opportunity to actually put things together on the field in a less pressurized situation. Looks like it's just a wrong plant foot there. Didn't appear as if Rodriguez made any contact. So a non-contact injury stops play here less than 6 minutes in.
I think another element we've seen and will be on full display tonight is some of those amateur sides, the UPSL sides, the sides that are looking for those cup sets, is how do you collectively problem solve? Because to your point with the preseasons and those sorts, obviously Soda City's in season as well, and they're off and running, and they would have been together, but you're going to face those challenges and you're going to have to solve them in real time. And it's going to be something that's unique and can play into the outcome.
Coming to you from High Point, North Carolina. This stadium also home to the Atlanta League's High Point Rockers. Carolina Core calling this facility home the last couple seasons as well. Marco Delgado Montero is back on the pitch for Soda City, so back to even strength as this ball's flown over the top. Canetti chases after it and is unable to save it in play. So that's why in some areas of the field you see what would be a warning track of sorts on a baseball diamond. Keeping your eyes peeled on how things are sorting out everywhere else. Portland Heart of Pines leading Falense 2-0. That match is at halftime, and then Tormenta has taken an early lead against Harbor City. 1-0 the advantage in that one. As 6 of the 7 matches here this evening are underway. Blizzard-like conditions postponing what would have been the final match of the night until tomorrow. That's Flatirons and Union Omaha playing tomorrow night. Well, while there aren't many changes in terms of personnel, there is at the top. Donovan Ricketts taking over for Roy Lassiter. Evan Shields springs it out. Juarez. Canetti tries to go right back, and the ball gets cleared away.
That's a spell of possession that featured the patience and the bravery you need as you work that ball forward, because again, you're gonna see Carolina Core on the ball, living in moments within Soda City's half. So how do you break them down as we see Evans going to take another corner?
Rodriguez at the forefront of this one yet again, and this corner will come from the opposite side of the field in the first. This one rolled short, and then right back to where it started. Left-footed in-swinger this time around. Covey was the closest target. Brought down, flipped on towards the corner, and Canetti's shot attempt ends up out of play.
And clever from Carolina Core, because you try one from one side that directly in the box, you get chaos, you get movement, and then you go ahead and try to hit them with that second and third actions. And as you mentioned, with Covey being the target, hit 3 goals in 2024.
Covey knocks the player down. Advantage is played forward here inside of the 18. First attempt for Soda City. Launches over the top of the box. Pretty good ball, though. And a good chance for Soda City.
And this is that threat that Soda City wants to present and sustain through this match, because they're going to find moments where they're pinned, they're absorbing pressure, they're going to not see a lot of the ball, but you've got to let Carolina Core know that you can threaten in certain moments, so they need to stay switched on.
A spot of the second round of the U.S. Open Cup on the line here tonight. Carolina reaching the 3rd round last season. Soda City in its first ever, as they were founded back in 2018 and reached this tournament for the first time in their club's history. Nearly given away. Charles has to rescue. Back to Daniel Chica. MLS Next Pro sides, 5 wins and 7 tries so far in this tournament. They have a few more teams in action tonight, including Carolina. The others will be FC Cincinnati 2 and Tacoma Defiance. Of the 10 teams that were invited to the field this year. Evans hammers that ball through the middle. Canetti laces it along. First time cross, ricochets off of a man, hugs the chalk, and sent away. And there's a ricocheting clearance from Covey, and friendly fire knocks down his teammate.
That was terrific build from Carolina Core, and it looks like Kambindu gets front end of that last clearance from his own teammate. Got that ball wide, and it just lacked a little bit of quality on the delivery, and you see clearance attempt and catching Kambindu.
Santiago Kambindu, 21 years of age, grew up in Colombia. Second season with Carolina after turning pro. He's back up to his feet and hopefully good to go the rest of the way. Temperatures tonight hovering in the mid to upper 50s. Have wind gusts forecast for the 20 miles per hour here this evening. You've heard it at times, picking up on our microphones. But nevertheless, a pretty good night for action here in late March. Ford Madison has jumped out in front of Duluth right before halftime. It's Faraday Sousa scoring in the 39th minute. Here we're scoreless so far, roughly a quarter hour in. Excellent maneuver here. Juarez brings it back, slides it through the middle, dummied along. Kambindu. Not a lot of space in the middle of the park, and Carolina forced to rescind this ball from the attack for a moment. Kai Thomas gives it right back for Evans, funnels it along. No foul, but Rodriguez chases after it. Evans has this ball punched out of play.
You have to like the tempo that Carolina Core is playing with. They are getting the ball off their feet. They're finding different areas of the field. But credit to Soda City, they are recovering, and not only just recovering, but they're getting into good spaces to make it difficult for Carolina Core. But ball is popping off their feet right now.
Carolina opened its MLS Next Pro season at Inter Miami a week ago tonight. Settled for a 1-1 draw. Evans scored the opener. Inter Miami tied it, and they went to penalties where Carolina Core added the additional point by winning PKs. Chica. 2 defenders swarm and take it away. These moments will be important for Soda City, and just as I say that, they give possession away. Excellent maneuver. Canetti through the middle, dodges another defender, and eventually coming over to save it. A body is taken out. It's a penalty and a chance for Carolina Core to strike first.
An explosive play by Canetti. He gets this ball on his feet, explodes past a couple defenders. Obviously a bit fortunate with this last tackle and the touch. Rodriguez making sure to do what quality attacking players do, and getting his body between the defender and the ball where only he can recoup a possession and make sure that the defender's making a difficult choice, and goes right through the back of Rodriguez and earns his side an early penalty.
Rodriguez, the 20-year-old from Honduras. And 2 game winners last year in the Open Cup. Belts this ball into the corner pocket. Carolina Corps have the opener in the 18th minute, leading 1-0.
Rodriguez earns the penalty and buries the penalty. And this is that progressive nature that Rodriguez plays with. We mentioned the game-changing goals he had last season in the Open Cup. When you operate in those dangerous areas along that back line, it just makes it so difficult for teams to, and then obviously a lot of credit to Canetti, because he applied all of attention on him on that dribble, and then Rodriguez understanding that he could float higher up, he can climb into that space. Tremendous job earning that penalty. Tremendous job converting the penalty.
4 Open Cup appearances for Rodriguez, 3 goals. And it's Carolina that strikes first on the home pitch in the opening round of the 2025 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. The only next pro team to advance further than Carolina last year was NYCFC2. They went to the round of 16, lost to New Mexico, 3-0. Carolina thinking that they could have a run in them this season yet again. They've controlled roughly 85% of possession so far, and they're looking for a second here in short time. Canetti rescues the ball after the giveaway.
And this shouldn't have any or heavy influence on what Soda City's game plan was coming in to the game, because when you concede within the first 20 minutes, it's early enough that you can stick to what you were wanting to do and how you wanted to implement that structure and that system, that you don't have to go chase the game just yet. You still could pick and choose your moments, you could still sustain a threat, and you don't have to leave yourself susceptible to any sort of counter or any sort of transition or moment where you're vulnerable. As this game wears on, and if this scoreline stays, then that's when you have to start making some adjustments and pushing some numbers forward.
20th minute, 1-0 Carolina leading Soda City. Michael Watring, Eric Dobransky, and our team with you here in High Point, North Carolina, to watch this bout. Joshua Rodriguez scoring the penalty kick in the 18th minute after drawing it. And he scores for the 3rd time in 4 appearances in the U.S. Open Cup. And to date, the first 2 matches, our first 2 match days of this tournament, 9 games had been decided by just 1 goal. 6 requiring extra time, a couple decided in penalties.
Yeah, it's so fascinating, because we always talk about the intrigue and the excitement of the U.S. Open Cup, and it just never disappoints. I mean, you get the extra times, you get the game winners, you get the penalties. I mean, you just get it all, and it's only round 1.
Had that drama last night with Des Moines Menace.
Yep.
Taking out SKC2 with the 2015 MLS All-Stars doing the job in that one.
Yeah, what was it, Sasha Kleshtin with 2 penalties?
Yeah, 2 penalties in that one, including one in the final 10 minutes that proved to be the game sealer. Benny Fellharber, he played in that match after coaching Sporting Kansas City 2 last season.
Oh, the storylines that the Open Cup gives us. And I think along with the storylines, it just showcases the expansive talent that we have within the structure of soccer in the country and the organizations that are within those leagues, and obviously we get firsthand some of the communities and some of the fan bases that support these clubs, which is a lot of fun as well.
Here's a foul whistled on Martin. He's going to be shown a yellow card as well. Hakeem Martin, 24-year-old midfielder, called for this foul and shown a booking as well.
Yeah, a bit ambitious with the timing there. And that's going to be something for Soda City. Can they, if they get that timing right and they catch Carolina Core in that expansive shape, you saw the 3-back, you saw the distances that were available. If you go ahead and win possession and recoup possession in that area, you can go. You're almost off on a 3v3. So that's something that they're going to continue to look for. But now you have Martin sitting on a yellow, so he's going to have to be careful moving forward.
Dangerously played back. Pannenberg is able to get it away from trouble. Long along that right sideline, and it trickles out of play. Well, with the college basketball tournament, what makes that so enticing every year is the possibility of upsets. And in American sport at the professional level, you don't necessarily get the crossover that you do, that the U.S. Open Cup lends to this sport, where you have amateur teams playing against the pro sides. Back post, it's headed down, a bobble, and rather than putting that one on the frame, it gets sent away after a ping pong. Pannenberg.
Yeah, we've seen, going back to your point, we've seen careers launched from performances in the U.S. Open Cup from players that obviously have the ambition from moving from the amateur ranks to the pro ranks, and have had performances to remember.
Juarez punches this ball through. It looked like it might have came up and hit his hand, but the surgeon is right there looking at it. A second windup here for Carolina Core. Juarez sprints. Juarez.
I'm going to highlight it again. You've got to like the pace and tempo that Carolina Core are playing with, because what we've seen in some of these earlier matches in the first round is the team that scores first, and depending on how early it is, but if it's in that 20-25 minute mark, sometimes they took their foot off the gas and they get a bit too casual. They get a bit too, they assume too much in terms of, oh, the second goal will come eventually, and then they don't take that into control. They don't just go ahead and say, hey, we're going to push for the second goal, we're going to create it. They just assume that it's going to come, and sometimes that comes back and bites that team in terms of the opportunities that they leave available for their opponent. And you have not seen that from Carolina Core thus far.
You start to have some of that shininess of the opponent that you're playing wear off as the game goes along. When the score is tighter, when you're smacked in the mouth early and you're down by a couple goals, you start to think, man, this team's as good as we expected, as good as the headlines read. But as it stays tighter and tighter, that belief continues to grow.
Absolutely.
Corner kick coming. Third one of the night. Jacob Evans lines it up. Evans arcs this ball. Two men collide. Chica and Canetti went right into each other. Otherwise, they would have potentially had a wide open look at the target.
Yeah, Evans has had quality delivery so far. I know one of them was short, but obviously it was played back and then he clipped it in left-footed. If you get consistent delivery, I mean, that's what you ask for on set pieces. I mean, it really dictates a lot, because the runs, the timing, the ability to be predictable in those moments is so important, and obviously predictable for your team in terms of the location, the areas that you want to attack.
When you talk about set pieces, you look at a Carolina core team that just missed out on the playoffs last year at Next Pro. There was a log jam of teams on the final day of the regular season, and on decision day, things became very interesting at the end, but Carolina lost 1-0 to Inter Miami. Had they won that match outright, they would have been into the postseason. They were on their home field against Inter Miami too. They couldn't get the job done. Set pieces critical this year. This ball whittled through the middle. And a recovery. There's been a couple moments here in the last 10 minutes where Soda City has found some space on that left side.
They have, and it's just unfortunately sputtered out. They've just missed out a pass here and there, and it seems like they have good numbers and good support and good angles to get on the ball. Just unable to complete that final action. And to your point earlier, the longer this game stays at 1-0, you've got to feel that the confidence in Soda City is going to continue to grow, and they're going to highlight some of the moments, to your point, of when they've been able to go forward, get into the final third. They've just missed completing a pass here and there, and they possibly in on goal, and still haven't recorded anything on frame that is tested. Pannenberg.
We're seeing a little bit of a shift in the plot here in the last couple minutes. Soda City, after seeing almost none of the ball, seeing more now, and a yellow card is shown as well. Really kind of a moment where it didn't need to happen, but Paul Leonardi commits the infraction, picks up a yellow.
Clipped ball that sits for Soda City, and then point Leonardi going in for the challenge, but good support in behind. Obviously ambitious in terms of the idea of where they wanted to go. Winning possession there and at midfield, but picking up that yellow. See how that influences any changes for Donovan Ricketts and his coaching staff.
At the 100 cap plateau with Jamaica in his time as a goalkeeper, and now his first full-time gig as a head coach was the interim coach at FC Tulsa a few years back. Spent the 2024 season as the goalkeeper coach for Carolina Core, and now we get another whistle and a foul. Will it be a booking? Please for it not to be.
Yeah, it's something that we have seen influence games previous to this within the first round, is teams picking up double yellows, straight reds that dictate the numbers that are available on the field, whether you're playing down a player. We saw Foro and Texoma play 10v10 for a majority of that match. And obviously something in the 31st minute that you're hoping that you don't find yourself in that predicament this early.
We're just beyond the half-hour mark here in this matchup. Carolina Core leads Soda City 1-0. Joshua Rodriguez drawing a penalty in the 17th minute and depositing the penalty moments after that. Michael Watring, Eric Dobransky, and our team with you here. Good to have you on board. Excited to watch how this one shakes out between the team from the Palmetto State and Soda City and the team from the Tar Heel State in Carolina.
He's had a quiet night thus far, Canetti, but when he has been on or around the ball, he's been quite electric. He's been pushing this back line of Soda City back. He's been able to win his 1v1 duels. And Rodriguez are a handful along that right side. For Soda City, we talk about the longer that this game stays 1-0, I think that's going to be important for Soda City in terms of finding that blend of, yes, you're going to pick and choose your moments where you can go try to equalize, but also making sure that the narrative doesn't drastically change going into the break. You still have plenty of time here in the first half. You want to make sure that you don't concede late.
Rodriguez with some blood on his jersey will need to step out for just a moment. These are the moments in the match sometimes that can really set the stage for how things will finish up, because, as you mentioned, if Soda City goes in down 1-0 at halftime, totally different conversation. They gave up a penalty. Some could argue hard luck in that situation, and maybe some changes to be made in half number 2 and some growth here in the final minutes, versus on the other side, if you give up a second, that can be really deflating. This ball whipped in, chipped away. Evans unable to slow it down, taken right back. Morongo. And now back around it goes as Navarro whips it across. Flores draws the foul.
This is in an area where you can fully commit to getting good numbers. Now you got to make sure that you don't leave yourself open for a counterattack, but that's something that you would protect yourself from, and it looks like you're seeing the numbers flood forward for Soda City. A lot of the times, these free kicks, especially these deeper free kicks, it's about second and third actions.
No direct second or third action here. It'll be a throw. Carolina 3 shots to 1 advantage in this game. They've had 3/4 of the possession as well. It's a good throw into the box, but it gets juggled out for a goal kick.
"28 final third entries for Carolina Core compared to 16 for Soda City, so not a massive discrepancy, but it goes back to what we've been talking about. Soda City is penetrating and finding moments where they can collectively climb the field. Carolina Core a bit more methodical and on the ball, the way that they get into shape and utilize every area of the field. But when you talk to coaches, and especially when you're looking for these cup sets, they all say the same thing, because obviously the preparation is so different. But talk about that you have to make the team feel a threat. They have to feel some sort of pressure. And again, I'm just going back to the scoreline that we were just talking about. If you keep it at 1-0 compared to if you concede late, you go into the break and you still have that bit of concern in the back of your mind going into the second half. You're not free and clear. You're not just open.
Evans strikes this ball. Oh, it's a dazzling save from Cotton. Juarez recycles. Soda City capture. Boy, how about the 24-year-old Jacob Cotton with a save to rescue the moment here in the opening 40 minutes.
And the other thing that comes to define matches, especially in these one-game eliminations, are fine margins and winning moments. Jacob Cotton coming up huge for his side, keeping this at a 1-0 scoreline. If Soda City are able to pull one back and equalize, going to be looking back at that save as something that definitely flipped the script, but good combination play. And it's towards the tail end of this first half. It has been along that right flank for Carolina Core. the ability, as mentioned earlier, Canetti getting on the ball, Rodriguez joining in on that side. Ability to combine and create those attacking sequences.
This ball played in, and an opportunity here for Soda City. Covey defends. The toss across gets funneled away by Kai Thomas. And now a whistle brings us back, and a foul on Soda City. But when you talk about ingredients of a cup set, it's the save. It's the goalkeeper making plays like this one to keep you in things.
Yeah, Canetti on the ball, drops this ball back. This top hand save from Jacob Cotton. He hasn't had to come up with too many big saves here in 38 minutes. But you don't need your goalkeeper to do it. You need him to make those 2 or 3 big game-changing saves, and that was, chalk that up to one of them for Jacob Cotton.
And it led to a pretty dynamic attacking moment at the other end of the field. Soda City starting to find their legs here. This pass chipped over the top. It's handled. Covey commits the foul, and an opportunity here for Soda City with a great location for a free kick.
And this is just eager from Covey because, and again, the bravery from Soda City, clipping this ball in and finding that 1v1 matchup. Felt like you could just stand him up and wait for help. It didn't look like Soda City had a lot of players around to combine with to get open. Terrific job and awareness to clip that ball in to that pocket of space and earning a dangerous free kick. And you talked about the sequence after the Jacob Cotton save. That's another part of a big time save, is how much it can flip momentum.
Troy J. Paul hovers on top, played collegiately at Wilmington University. It would be his left foot in this moment. Troy J. Paul blasts this over the top. He wanted it. He was standing right there, scored 7 goals in his final collegiate season, but ends up shipping this ball over the top.
And a sigh of relief from Carolina Core, giving up a dangerous free kick. And it's one of those where you learn and avoid conceding.
Flag is up for offside. That was nearly a debacle in the back.
For Donovan Ricketts and his staff, that'll be a moment, not necessarily to highlight Covey, but to highlight how dangerous and how quickly things can change, and making sure that they're switched on. And I talked about how dynamic they've been on the ball and how that ball has really been popping off their foot with good pace, good tempo. But sometimes when you find yourself in a ball-dominant scenario where you're on the ball, you're in possession, you're seeing a lot of that percentage, you do tend to not necessarily switch off defensively, but you just find yourself more exposed.
Can Carolina take advantage in the waning moments of this opening 45 minutes, leading it 1-0. Joshua Rodriguez scoring in the 18th minute. A penalty kick is the difference in this match. Alongside Eric Dobransky and our team, Michael Watring settling in with you in the first round of the U.S. Open Cup. Taken away, asking for a foul and not getting it. And now Covey steps forward, and he does commit the foul. And here we go off of the restart. Martin takes it. And now just as we were moving forward, it looked like we were going to be good to go with that. Joe Sergen brings the ball back. Well, a quick update from everywhere else so far. You have Portland Hearts of Pine, 4 goals out in front of Falense with about 10 minutes to go in that matchup. About Long Island Rough Riders leading Charlotte Independence 1-0. Jacob Woznicki scoring in the 49th minute as they just started the second half in that game. And FC Cincinnati 2 and New York Freedoms are scoreless so far in that one. Four of the 6 games right now show 1-0 score lines for the home side. And through the first 24 matches of this tournament, the home team's 12-12. Shots hit at 4-2 in favor of Carolina Core. They have the lone goal coming in the 18th minute from Joshua Rodriguez. How about the keeper here? Cotton, he heads it away. Now has to retreat, and thankfully for him, 2 of his defenders there were applying pressure to Jacob Evans.
Yeah, decisive play from Jacob Cotton, because when you leave your box, you better know exactly how you want to clear that ball. And it worked not only through Carolina Core players, but his own teammates. He's used to that, trying to fight through traffic in the 18-yard box. He's doing it 5 to 10 yards outside of your normal area.
Sometimes you have to have a different level of confidence to be able to advance in the U.S. Open Cup. Canetti was trying to give it right back to Evans, unsuccessful. And here comes Martin and company for Soda City. Soda City, one of the nicknames for Columbia, South Carolina. Originally, Columbia was shortened by the USPS to Cola, and then some major manufacturing of soda products eventually lent itself to the city being nicknamed the Soda City, and hence the name for this UPSL semi-professional team. Closing in on the end of the first half. Will Soda City be able to scrape one across here before the break? Well, they go down 1-0 at halftime as we await to hear the official stoppage time number. What's your assessment of 45 minutes of play for these two teams? Just the 1 goal, a penalty kick in the 18th minute.
Yeah, I think for Carolina Core, it's just finding a bit more quality in those wide areas. You see the ability to access some of the half space and some of the wide areas, whether it's they're just lacking that, either the quality and delivery or the overall involvement combined. We saw the chance by Evans and the huge save by Jacob Cotton, and that's an example of unlocking that space. But Carolina Core has had a good variety of how they want to unlock spaces, and for Soda City, it's just commitment to that final action. You've seen good attacking moments, but they just have not been able to complete that final action. But what they are doing a tremendous job of is not conceding possession in punishing areas. They're in the build. They're not giving up Carolina Core the ball 30 yards away from goal centrally. You're gonna have to deal with this set piece though here towards the end.
4 minutes of first half stoppage time. Jacob Evans ready to go. Evans sets his sights on the middle of the park. Pummels this ball in. Takes one little skip, now comes back over. And it was Canetti making the run. That was quite a little design play from the training ground, and it nearly paid off.
Yeah, quite clever. Laces this ball. Nice set, and it just looks like Canetti just does not connect like he would have liked. And again, right there, and I know it's subtle, but good from Soda City, because you could see what Canetti wanted to do. He wanted to shape that ball into that far side netting. But once you see all those bodies take away that angle and take away that space, you can no longer, that's no longer an option. You saw he had to push that ball near post and did not make the contact he was looking for.
Duels in the middle of the field. Juarez, 22-year-old from San Antonio, glides this across the field, but it stops the momentum of this attack midway through stoppage time of the first half. One of the 7 games on the schedule tonight will be down from the expansive 32 games to just 1 after this evening, with the blizzard forcing the change between Flatirons and Union Omaha. That ball has a lot of pace on it, but just as it looked like it was going to be latched onto, just not enough time to get all the way to it. Shots sit at 5-2 in favor of Carolina. Last season, you look at Carolina at home, 8 wins and 15 tries at home. 5 of those 8 wins were by 1 goal. And in every single one of their wins, they put up multiple goals on the home front. And that was after they had to play their first 8 games of the year on the road while they awaited to get the official clearance for this pitch. Vandenberg hasn't had to do a lot tonight. Hasn't seen an official shot on target so far.
And as we approach the break, it's going to be fascinating to see the depth of Soda City, and I think that's what has come to fruition in a number of these matchups, is when you get these kind of games, what does it look like going into the 60th minute? What do both these teams look like? What do the changes look like? But for Soda City, they've done a good job of blending in some dangerous moments. I talked about that final action. And for Carolina Core, just finding a bit more quality in some of that final third movement, but they've had a good balance of being urgent and patient in the build and in what they're doing in Soda City's half.
45 minutes in the books, and it's Carolina Core from MLS Next Pro leading the UPSL's Soda City 1-0. We'll step out for a break. Highlights and the second half come your way here in just a few moments as you watch the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup on U.S. Soccer's YouTube channel.
Welcome to the Premier Life Skills University.
Welcome to HPU.
Fans, go by the merch stand and grab your 2025 jerseys for the season, and don't forget to get them autographed at the end of the match by your favorite players. certified product. They're one of the fastest growing firms in the tribe. No wonder they've broken 4 industry records in the last year alone. Thank you for joining us. Mental Consulting.
Carolina Core leading Soda City FC 1-0 at halftime here in the 110th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Michael Watring, Eric Dobransky, and team back with you here this evening as we watch the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup and some scores of note from around this tournament here this evening. Portland Hearts of Pine, 4-0 victory, a decisive decision in that game. Everything else is hotly contested right now. Tormenta taking a lead in the 23rd minute. They continue to lead Harbor City as that closes in on the final 20 minutes. And just as we pop this up, Duluth has tied things up. Mario Fernandez has tied up Ford Madison at 1 apiece. That's in the 66th minute. And you have a couple other ones in the late night game, Tacoma Defiance and Washington Athletic Club coming up later this evening. Time to take a look at the highlights from our match here tonight between Carolina and Soda City. And corner kicks have been a big cause of this, and defending for Soda City, that's been the area that they have had to try to shore up in the opening 45, but they've had a little bit of luck on the left side of the field.
They have. The final third entries are not even, but they're close in terms of Soda City's ability to be progressive, be positive on the ball, be brave in the moments that sometimes it calls for a certain action. We've saw a number of clip balls in, and this is the ball in to Rodriguez. Defensive deflection, and then Rodriguez doing a terrific job of getting his body between the ball and defender, earning the penalty, and then converting the penalty. Was influential in last year's U.S. Open Cup matches for Carolina Core. Picks up where he left off in that tournament last year, and then another run of play for Carolina Core. This ball dropped back to Evans, and then massive save from Jacob Cotton to keep this at 1-0, because we had talked about it going into the break. You want to make sure that you're still in control of that narrative, and that would have flipped the script and changed what Soda City had to do going into the second half. For Carolina Core, they have to feel good about the possession, but what are you doing with that possession? It feels like they're playing with good urgency. Now you need to reward yourself with some of the opportunities you're creating in the final third. And for Soda City, it is just that final quality. They are breaking loose. They are finding some moments where they get 2v2, 3v3, 1v1 in very dangerous situations, but just unable to complete that final action. That's going to be something that they're going to want to convert.
So as we close in on the start of the second half, it is a 1-0 advantage for Carolina Core after the opening 45 minutes of play on a windy night here in High Point, North Carolina. And Carolina looking to win the opening round match for a second consecutive season after they took out Northern Virginia last year. They actually trailed in that game. It's almost an identical script as last season's opening round match. Drake Hadid scored in the 18th minute goal tonight. And then boom, 2 goals in about a 6-minute window. Northern Virginia had the lead until late in the game when Joshua Rodriguez came back to win it 3-2. And then in round 2, they trailed in that one against Vermont Green, 1-0. And then Papa Endoy, a penalty kick, and Rodriguez wins it in the 70th minute. So they've had some drama in their wins in this tournament. And we talked about in the first half, sometimes you let a team hang around, and sometimes that can be really detrimental for you and allow the other team to have some belief. And we wonder what we'll see from Soda City in the second half.
Even the match that they dropped to Charlotte Independence, so a 1-0 scoreline, and talk about the fine margins, the moments, call them winning moments, those moments that flip results. And Soda City can have to feel good about what they've created in some of those chaotic middle third moments where they're winning some duels. Saw a yellow card picked up by Hakeem Martin trying to pick up the ball at midfield, and that's going to be something as this game wears on, and if this scoreline stays the same. Do you see Soda City commit higher up the field defensively? Do they leave themselves susceptible in behind, but knowing that they have to find the equalizer? And regardless of where you are in the season, it's I go back to what we talk about so fascinating about the U.S. Open Cup. When you delineate the difference between these teams playing in the regular season and now you have a midweek knockout round game, I mean, they just present so many different match scenarios, goal up, goal down. What are you doing to get back in a game? Because losing 1-0 and losing 2-0, it's all the same. You're eliminated. So for Soda City, at what point and what minute do you just go ahead and throw the kitchen sink at Carolina Core and say, hey, here, we're going to throw a ton of numbers at you, try to regain possession as close to goal as possible, and try to convert and equalize if this scoreline stays at 1-0? Because the goal they gave up, the penalty, obviously well done by Rodriguez and good explosive play by Canetti. But besides that, they have not been necessarily broken down. Obviously, Jacob Cotton came up with that huge save, but besides that, they've dealt with set pieces pretty well. I really like how clever Carolina Core was on that last set piece. They went short. Obviously, they plugged in that ball in, and then they just set it to Canetti, who just couldn't connect with that near post finish. But you definitely have to enjoy it from a footballing standpoint, the questions, and then along with the questions, the problem solving that goes along with it.
To your point, one of the unique things about MLS Next Pro is every match ends in penalties, even if it's a draw. So MLS Next Pro teams are unique in the format of this sport in that every game has consequences, even during the regular season. So much of the developmental phase of that league comes down to winning and losing, understanding how to go out and win matches and take care of business. Carolina last season just missed out on the postseason in MLS Next Pro. They lead 1-0 against Soda City. And with 45 more minutes still to go, Soda City looks for a response here as the second half kicks off between Soda City from the UPSL, the spring and fall champions of a 500 team organization, and MLS Next Pro's Carolina Core, one of the 3 deepest teams to reach the 3rd round last season. Michael Watring, Eric Dobransky, and our team with you here in High Point, North Carolina. Temperatures in the mid-50s, wind gusts about 20 miles per hour for this one. And we wonder what Soda City might do in the second half. Maybe some pressure will come for a team that was really good at scoring last year. And you even look back at their fall final against FC Folsom, who was in this tournament last year. They fell behind in that game and then scored 4 unanswered goals to win that match in the fall national championship. So maybe something similar to be written here as we look for a cup set. Perhaps 5 amateur teams have knocked off those professional sides, in MLS Next Pro looking for a 6th team to advance to the 2nd round.
And touching again on Soda City, to your point, is their winning culture in the UPSL. That winning character translates, and you talk to the teams that have kind of constructed rosters for the tournament or made adjustments or tweaks to who they've added and who they've brought along, and a lot of it is winning character and knowing what winning in this tournament or winning in whatever leagues they're playing in means. You brought up MLS Next Pro, going to penalties, so delineating that line of getting results. And then same for Soda City, 11-0-1 in UPSL regular season. And I guarantee there's some navigating some challenges within a regular season, as we see foul there. And
like Mamadou Saint, 22-year-old midfielder, was the one that was injured. Some frustration as well from that Soda City bench. Each team has a yellow card. Leonardi of Carolina and Martin of Soda City. Well, I've had the good fortune of speaking with a lot of the coaches in MLS Next Pro, and one of the things that each of those coaches have highlighted, it's a general theme across the board, is when you look at developing players, there is that technical side. There is that aspect of understanding the game a little bit better. But in the end, the question always comes back to, when it comes to deciding whether or not they're ready for the next step and the next phase in their career, is are they ready to help the first team win games? Can they come on as subs? Can they come on as starters and win matches? And that's what moments like these here tonight, consequential games, are very decisive for the future of a lot of these players.
Yeah, because you see it across all the leagues, and with player attributes, there can be players, and you look at stats, you look at passing efficiencies, passing accuracy, and a lot of those numbers guide storylines. But to your point, how do you loudly influence the match itself, the result? Whatever that result may be for your team in the final third, middle third. Soda City preps for this free kick.
Salif hits this ball low, and Tess Pannenberg. Ralph Salifu. And in the end, if you're Soda City, if you're going to get chances anywhere around the box, you might as well see what Andrew Pannenberg's up to back there. But quite the resume for Pannenberg. Grew up in Charlotte, played at Wake Forest, and then has stops as well with Colorado Springs Switchbacks, Houston Dynamo 2, and now Carolina. That officially the first shot on target in this match. Soda City looking to break through here, and might have had a little bit of space there if that ball didn't have the velocity on it.
You can already tell here in the first 5 minutes that Soda City is playing with more risk. They are playing with the ability to close down collectively. They're doing it as a unit, and they're winning the battle of distances defensively. They're getting good support. But then even on the ball, you could see how positive they're looking to be. Even if the ball is turned over, they're still trying to play in some of those tight seams going forward, trying to create. Could spell a possession here.
Here's a shot attempt. Pannenberg bobbles, and Martin was standing on the doorstep, and he's fortunate that that ball didn't squirt too far away.
Starts with a good penetrating ball, the ability to turn around, and it was quick to retreat for Carolina Core. Soda City turns, and they're able to go on goal, and as you mentioned, Pannenberg, just a little bit of a bobble.
Evans lays this off along the run. Juarez. He goes down inside of the 18. No whistle this time from Joe Surgat. Well, a couple alarms firing off right now if you're Soda City against this Carolina Core group. A lot of time left to play in a 1-0 differential. And a spot in the second round on the line. Those matches to be played April 1st and April 2nd. Pannenberg funnels it right up the middle of the field. Starting to see a little bit more aggressiveness in the press as well from Soda City. Had that great save in the first half. Ensured that it wasn't a second from Evans and company midway through half number one. Here goes Cepeda. Lays it along this left-hand side. Flores. I think the defense impacted that ball as it flares out of play.
Soda City showcasing their passing range. Right now, we've saw hints of it in the first 45, but now seeing sustained play out of the back. Mentioned again the big save by Jacob Cotton, but he's been sturdy with it. He's been responsible with the way he's played out of the back as well, with his feet, his distribution.
There's a foul whistled. Speaking with Donovan Ricketts earlier this week, he mentioned that Inter-Miami match, the only competitive match that they've had so far this year. Said he was impressed with the performance on the road, specifically defensively. And that is certainly something that we have seen here tonight. And ultimately, in the end, last year, year number one, unaffiliated team in MLS Next Pro. expectations weren't all that high. They are this year. Rodriguez chases this down, throws it through the middle. It's a touch that lands right on Evans's toes, and he hits it off of a defender. Nearly catastrophe for Soda City. Right side it goes. Leonardi. He gets taken out as he draws the foul.
And it almost looks like Evans pumps the brakes on this ball played in from Rodriguez, and it looks like if he would have just ran all the way through, Soda City almost set him up perfectly. But just that slight touch on the brakes put him in a position where he wasn't running all the way through it and couldn't make good contact, but now he gets a chance for this outswinging delivery, and we've seen him be dangerous throughout the night. Not only the pace of his service, but the location.
Evans 8 goals, 6 assists in 2024 has donned the captain's armband from day one of this organization. He's been denied a couple times as he flies this ball all the way back post. Chica rises, barely skims off of his long locks. Andrew Pannenberg was brought in to be the #1 keeper on this team, but Alex Sutton has done a good job for this group. Finished 4th last year in saves in Next Pro. Did Sutton, and gets the spot on the bench tonight. Pannenberg a chance to instill confidence within the coaching staff.
Just not as fluid and dynamic from Carolina Core as we saw in the first 45. Come out just a bit flat, and I think a lot of credit goes to Soda City.
Salifu holds on to it. Chica getting all sorts of contact on it, but it's Daniel Chica that's too strong there. George Mason product wins the ball and now ships it out to midfield. The second half, totally different feel from the first half. Soda City playing much more confident. Evans flares this ball wide. Leonardi curls it in. Kimbindu.
And those were the services going back to what you were just talking about with the change of pace for this game.
Look at this pass from Evans. Leonardi shot though. Sent back to him.
With Soda City's ability to be more aggressive in the press, they're not as quick to invite Carolina Core into the final third, as this is another sprayed ball in behind, and this is where they've found some different success here in the second half. But seeing this threaded ball into Leonardi. Just a few moments before that, Leonardi had that wide service, and it almost felt like it just needed an extra touch. Sometimes you talk about it either needs to get off of the foot a little quicker, but that one probably needed just a touch into space. Soda City was already set defensively to deal with that service. Nobody was moving. So that's something sometimes where if Leonardi takes a deeper touch, you bring somebody out, you vacate some other space.
Bindu wheels it around. Carolina looking for a second to gain some separation with a 1-0 edge in tow. Flores is the target. Chica corrals, and Flores' pressure nearly forces a giveaway. Leonardi keeps it in. Excellent run here. It's Canetti off to the races. Canetti has Rodriguez. Rodriguez on the doorstep, shovels it into the net. Carolina Core, beautiful transition, goes ahead 2-0.
And this connection between Canetti and Rodriguez has been on full display tonight. Canetti involved in the earning of the penalty in the first half. And Carolina Core just so decisive getting out of their half. And you saw it right away. You had initial pressure from Soda City, but you didn't have another secondary layer there. As soon as that pressure was broken, you got a sense that Soda City was in trouble. And my goodness, that connection from Leonardi to Canetti just broke this game and this field wide open. And Rodriguez with that aggressive attitude to go forward, that progressive mindset. As soon as Canetti gets into open field, Rodriguez is off to the races, getting into that dangerous space. And then the quality that was on Canetti's ball across, the shape and the timing.
Second goal of the night for Rodriguez. It's his first professional brace. He scored 5 goals during the MLS Next Pro regular season last year. They came in a 5-match window, 1 goal in each game. And tonight might be the kickstart of something. There's something about playing in the U.S. Open Cup where he plays at his best, having scored in 3 of the 4 matches and now 4 total goals that he's played in.
And he just looks so elusive off the ball. I mean, you just watch him as this ball gets worked around or the ball hits those wide areas. He's never just fully set. He's always scanning. He's always aware of what spaces are becoming available.
Carolina looking for more now. First time ball across. Rodriguez blasts this high. Had his sights set on a hat trick. Too much on this one, though.
Now, Carolina Core just splitting Soda City defensively. And almost a mirror image of the ball that Canetti played from this right side, played on the left side.
Well, teams around the U.S. Open Cup starting to get a little bit of separation. Tormenta have surged out in front of Harbor City, 3-0. Goals from Niall Reed, Steven, in the span of 5 minutes, have Tormenta out in front by 3 goals. And after Duluth had tied it up, Ford Madison gets goals from Monjoma and Galindrez in the span of 13 minutes to lead now 3-1 in the 90th minute. Will Soda City find an answer here with about a half hour to go? Into the 18. Chica wins a lot of aerial duels. Keeps that ball in play. Flores chops it through the middle. Covey commits a foul. That was really a needless moment, and he's going to get booked for it as well. A 24-year-old from Paris.
And you appreciate the aggressiveness from Covey, but this is a pass that is going wayward, and he just continues to plow through the Soda City attacker and didn't pick up a yellow for the free kick that he conceded in the first 45, and now sees himself getting booked. And for Soda City, this is exactly what you want. Obviously not being down 2-0, but this gives you a quick answer. If you can execute at a high level, get a quality service.
Salifu strikes this high, and the fans delighted by that.
Now for Donovan Ricketts and his team, how do you manage the rest of this match. You're at a 2-0 advantage. Yes, you would love to go push for a third goal, but you also want to be professional in the approach of keeping a clean sheet, but also keeping true to your identity and the way you want to play. And it's that blend of managing a match, but also making sure that you're keeping good habits and you're keeping quality in and out of possession.
Long Island Rough Riders and Charlotte Independence are going to extra time. It's one apiece, and a late equalizer from Charlotte in the 79th minute sends those two sides into extra time. It's still scoreless as well between FC Cincinnati and New York Freedoms, Pencyprian Freedoms. This is a delightful ball from Juarez. Tries to roll it over. Evans collects. Lays it back. Charles. Here's a long distance dedication that sizzles high.
Positive setup. This ball was always rising.
Our first sub of the night sees Juan Pablo Rodriguez come in. He replaces Covey, who just picked up that yellow card. Juan Pablo Rodriguez, 22 years of age, from San Juan, Argentina. Spent a couple seasons playing in his home country.
For Soda City, who is going to step in and get them back in this match and pull one back? Because still plenty of time, but if you're going to cut into a 2-0 deficit, you want to give yourself at least some time where you can make it a 2-1 game ideally with 10 minutes left. So if you can score a goal in the next 15, so we see the foul and the yellow card.
Jose Flores picks it up. He joins Hakeem Martin as the two that have picked up cards in this one.
Substitution for Soda City FC. Entering the match, number 9, Lamar. Leaving the match, number 6.
Mamadou Say is coming off the field as his shift comes to an end, and Lamar Thompson, the 33-year-old forward, comes on. He's the eldest player on this roster for Soda City. Evans corrals. Evans flies, but the card up, or the flag up rather, for offside. As you mentioned, Soda City needing to get something together. They had a pretty strong opening 10 minutes of this second half. Just haven't quite been able to replicate that for long enough periods. They had Carolina 10 shots in this game. They've scored on a couple, and Joshua Rodriguez has scored twice, his first professional brace.
Yeah, that energy and aggressiveness that we saw in that first 10 minutes or so is Lamar Thompson's having some sort of discussion with center official. It's like he and Rodriguez had a coming together before this free kick. Yeah, you've just seen that energy and that aggressiveness fizzle out. And you know it in every match. You're going to have the ebbs and flows. You're going to have that momentum. It's momentum is a real thing, and when you can capture it, it's about converting and executing. And when you relinquish it, it's how quickly can you get it back.
Juarez races to the touchline, brings it in. Rodriguez taps it behind. Flawless execution. He returns the favor as Canetti torches the threads. beautiful football in action here in North Carolina, and the Core lead 3-0.
And going back to where they were having a lot of success in the first 45 was driving at this end line, pushing Soda City all the way back into their area. And again, Rodriguez, you can see him driving to goal, and then he pulls up, and what a clever play to Canetti, returning the favor on the assist he had on Carolina Core's second goal, and Rodriguez's second goal of the night. And now Canetti bearing one of his own. As you mentioned, beautiful football from Carolina Core. Just instinctual play, the awareness that requires, not only of the awareness of where you are around frame and where your defenders are, but where your teammates are.
Facundo Canetti scored 11 times in 25 matches last season. Was the team's leading goal scorer a year ago. Had a run where he had scored in 5 of 7 towards the end of the year. Had 8 total goals in that stretch, including a run of 3 straight braces. And it's the majestic buildups right now from Carolina that I think if you're Soda City, frustration certainly and the inability to score, but you're giving up goals that are well earned by your opponent. Canetti getting yanked around. He draws the foul. And a set piece coming up here with less than 20 minutes to play.
And that's the goal from Canetti. You almost felt like it was coming from Canetti. I mean, just the turn and the break that he had for the Rodriguez goal. The drive that he had that eventually earned the penalty. Obviously, Rodriguez earned the penalty, but Canetti acquiring all that attention from Soda City, and then that ball falling to Rodriguez in the box, and now drawing this free kick.
Here comes a dangerous area. Evans hit one on the other end of the field from this side that Cotton saved. Jacob Evans launches this in. Oh, that is brilliant. 3 highlight level second half goals for Carolina Core, capped here by Jacob Evans with a breathtaking strike. 4-0 Carolina.
They have had a breakout second half, stacking play after play. They recognize the aggressiveness of Soda City to start this half, and they've answered the bell with 3 terrific goals. And this team is firing on all cylinders right now.
3 changes here for Donovan Ricketts' side. Zion Scarlett, Mateo Sarmiento, and Derek Cuevas all coming in. Evans takes his last touch of the night, and what a way for that last touch to go. Canetti and Leonardi also check off. I'll tell you what, Jacob Evans, he'll have 1 goal tonight. He has certainly laid the foundation for this group, and I'm not sure that the script could be any better tonight for Donovan Ricketts. It looked like maybe this was going to be a slugfest and a tug of war to get through the entirety of the 90 minutes. 1-0 was the score at halftime. The opening 10 minutes was very much a seesaw affair. And all of a sudden, confidence oozing out of Carolina. More chances to come. And Sarmiento's cross knocked out of play, and this is a Carolina side that is doing everything right.
They have Soda City on the ropes right now. You have a team chasing the ball and unable to put themselves in stable shape defensively. You know that you are featuring a dynamic and diverse attack.
Corner kick, knuckles in. Header right back into traffic. Chica pivots, uses the left foot to arc it to the back post. Cotton chases after it, but nobody there in a white kit. And two more subs, this time from Soda City. Tobias Rawson Paz joins Jonathan Maktutis onto the pitch. That duo replaces Cepeda and Guadagnino.
Substitution for Soda City FC. Entering the match is number 13, Jonathan Maktutus. Leading the match, number 12, Gabriel Guadagnino. Also entering the match, Tobias Rawson. Leading the match, number 21, Carlos Cepeda.
Roughly a quarter hour to go in this match. Carolina have flexed its muscles and looking to send another MLS Next Pro side through here on this evening. Five have advanced so far. Carolina looking to make it a sixth, leading 4-0. A brace from Rodriguez. Canetti has one, and the other is Jacob Evans on a free kick.
We had talked about how Carolina Coral was going to manage this match being up 2-0 and still keeping to their standards, keeping to their identity. Seen a lot of times that some of these Open Cup games have just become an absolute grind and just taking a physical, mental toll, especially when you're facing a midweek match and the squad rotation that you're going to see. But this is what Donovan Ricketts and his side wanted to see in terms of they absorbed the energy that Soda City came out in that second half with. They've absolutely had the answer and playing with good tempo, with good ideas, and most importantly, with good execution.
Soda City corner kick, trying to salvage something out of this performance. You think about all the teams in this tournament that have to earn their way in. Not used to being on the wrong side of the scoreboard. Corner kick, whips in. Pannenberg snatches it. He no doubt wants the clean sheet here this evening. Something that Carolina did not achieve in last year's three-match run in the U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah, that's always that last piece is you get 4 goals and you want to make sure you also keep the clean sheet, as that signifies that complete collective performance. You did it in all phases. You did it with everybody's contributions.
Ball chested to the surface and ultimately cleared away. So one final change for Carolina. R.E.A. Miller, 19-year-old who grew up right here in High Point, North Carolina, replaces Alenga Charles in the 79th minute.
Substitution for Carolina Core FC. Entering the match is number 99, R.E.A. Miller. Leaving the match, number 12, Alenga Charles. That's number 99, R.E.A. Miller. For number 12, Alenga Charles.
Here's this attempt from long distance. It's over Pannenberg, and it flies into the net. Soda City do have a goal and pull within 3. How about that strike from Lamar Thompson? How about this on the first time volley?
Soda City FC goals scored by number 9, Lamar Thompson.
That is well done from Lamar Thompson. Mentioned awareness. He knew exactly where he was. He knew exactly where Pannenberg was. And exposed the positioning. Didn't even let that ball hit the ground and take a hop.
It may be too little, too late for Soda City, but something to add to the portfolio for this side. 10 more minutes to go, and it's been a thrilling second half. We've seen now 4 goals combined in the last 21 minutes. It was 1-0 at halftime. Joshua Rodriguez scoring a penalty kick in the 18th minute, and then he added one in the 58th, added an assist on a Canetti goal in the 69th, Evans' free kick in the 72nd, and Lamar Thompson just scoring in the 79th minute. And the 4 goals tonight match a Carolina Core organization record. They scored 4 twice last year in consecutive games in wins against Atlanta United 2 and New York Red Bulls 2. So 1 more goal would set the new mark, and Rodriguez could become the first Carolina Core player with a hat trick if he adds another.
And we've been treated to some spectacular goals tonight. I mean, just in this half, we've seen a variety of different attacking sequences, and obviously the finishing. That take by Lamar Thompson. The late tackle there, trying to regain possession.
Long ball over the top of everybody. Scarlett played with Columbus Crew 2 for a couple seasons, now with Carolina Core. Miller wins the corner. On the closing seconds of the first extra time session, Charlotte Independents have leapt in front of Long Island Rough Riders. Christian Cheney in the 104th minute have put them out in front of Long Island.
We have a Carolina Core corner kick.
USL League 1 Charlotte Independents against USL League 2 Long Island. This ball rotates across. It's over the head of one, and it's nodded straight into the surface by Juan Pablo Rodriguez. They're still scoreless as well between FC Cincinnati 2, who was the #1 team in the regular season in the East last year, and New York Pancyprian Freedoms. It's 16-6 for the Queen City in shots. Flores slams the brakes on, gets to that left foot, clips it across. There's empty space there, and it's headed down and headed in. Rauf Salifu makes it a 2-goal game with 7 minutes to go.
And have put Carolina Core all out of sorts. I mean, and it's again, a ball played into space. Flores driving at this end line, but the patience that he displays and gets Chica turned around. Salifu, that late introduction, finding that far post. And we were just talking about Carolina Core and trying to keep a clean sheet, and that is gone and dusted. Obviously with the Lamar Thompson goal, but now it almost turns into a bit of frustration.
We have the 4th of the 30 matches so far in this tournament where both sides have combined to score multiple goals. Now, check that, 5. Long Island has just tied it in the first minute of stoppage time, 105 plus 1. It's Elias Kadri scoring for the Rough Riders, and it's 2-2 in that one. Are there similar theatrics to come here? We've seen 2 goals in 4 minutes by Soda City. And a foul given.
And there's no question that Carolina Core are shaken in terms of there's going to be some nervy moments in these last few minutes. They've just now seen themselves concede 2 goals in quick succession. And obviously there's still a lot of work for Soda City to do to complete this, what would be a miraculous comeback in terms of the timing and the scoreline. But still, when you score 2 goals in that time span, you start to feel a bit more tense. You start to feel a little bit more tight about where and when you're playing the ball, what you're doing defensively. Just a few minutes ago, you were playing with all the confidence in the world, playing with this freedom, this fluidity.
Well, you're talking about a Carolina Core team as well that is managed by Donovan Ricketts. You talk about a man with high standards, twice the MLS goalkeeper of the year in 2010 and 2013. Pannenberg gets shown a yellow card here for time wasting in the 86th minute. You know that the conclusion to this, it's a little bit sour at this point in the match. For Carolina, they had some brilliant goals and were up 4-0 and could have walked out of here with confidence that really they've never had as an organization, coming off of their biggest win of all time. But instead now having to grind things out against Soda City in the last few minutes.
Yeah, to your point, this has made this game a lot more uptight than it was and it needed to be. But again, the brilliance of the U.S. Open Cup, you have teams that do not stop.
Juarez has an assist, fires this one all the way across. Scarlett lets it bounce, taps it back, and it's pummeled away from trouble. And there's a foul. Juan Pablo Rodriguez and company over there.
Substitution for Soda City FC.
2 more changes here for Soda City as they try to get some fresh legs onto the pitch. Winston Johnson and John Curdy come in. Curdy had a goal in the fall NPSL championship. That duo replaces Jose Flores and Hakeem Martin, who both have yellow cards, but have both been influential in this match. Flores just had the assist on that last goal. Carolina looking to clinch this thing with another. Soda City on the other side, looking to add 1 more to the line. In the first half, they only had 2 shot attempts. Second half, 4 of their 5 attempts have hit the target. 2 have found the net. A couple more minutes to go in this one. It would take something miraculous now for Soda City to get all the way back in this. Cuevas taps it along and then commits the foul. We talked about it at the start of the second half. How do you see through matches? How do you have that strategy in game to be able to win matches? And certainly the results most important, but you have a Soda City side right now desperate to get a third. Cheeky little move there by Lamar Thompson, and now he decides to scissor one in. Maybe one too many, but not done yet. A couple clips in, Chica flies it away. Thompson flies to the surface, and it's another foul. And it's a free kick coming here, much to the disdain of Santiago Cambindu.
Carolina Core have been shaky with their clearances out of the back. They have been unable to connect and make proper contact on some of these clearances, giving Soda City not only second, third, fourth opportunities, and now conceding a free kick. You're already absorbing some dangerous pressure, and now you've got to deal and defend this set piece with Soda City just throwing everything at them.
It comes in, takes a bounce, sent away, nodded back towards this left side. Soda City still has numbers forward here. Cross comes in from Troy J. Paul, and it gets banged out. Wants the right foot this time, hurls it in. A bicycle kick attempt, still loose, and then the shot attempt takes a block and goes out with 4 added minutes here in the second half.
Now, if you can convert something here, my goodness, it would cause for a raucous last few minutes. But you need a quality delivery, and that's where Soda City has fallen short in some of these free kicks. We've seen some free kicks that were right outside the 18, put them over the crossbar. They need to put something right in that chaotic area.
Pretty good ball in, headed back through. Nobody was there to receive. Things are opened up here. If Carolina can get possession, they would have a lot of space. Instead, it's a free kick. Well, it's been a valiant performance. When Jacob Evans, the captain, came off the field in the 72nd minute, it was 4-0, and it felt like this thing was done, dusted, we could move on. And then all of a sudden, 2 goals in 4 minutes, and Soda City have kept the heartbeat alive down the stretch. Over the top this ball goes, fired away by Kai Thomas.
And what about the impact of Lamar Thompson? I mean, he's come on, and obviously he scored the goal. And obviously probably went a little too far with how clever he wanted to get in that wide space just a few moments ago, just needing that service. But he has come and changed the way Soda City has attacked. And you saw that clipped in ball just a few moments ago, and he has been something dangerous for Carolina Core to deal with. Talk about flipping a narrative. I mean, you mentioned it in the 72nd minute. We're looking at 4-0. Carolina Core are going to feel good about what they're going to review on tape and what confidence they're going to carry not only into the Open Cup next round, but just moving forward throughout the regular season.
This ball fires in. Bodies collide. Who touched it last? Soda City. Corner kick coming up as Cuevas put in the extra work, and Carolina on this end of the field trying to see this one all the way out. It's played back. Scarlett elects to go towards the corner flag, in no rush to make anything happen with a 2-goal advantage and around a minute to go. Charlotte have scored again. Independence lead 3-2. There's 10 minutes to go in extra time in that one. 3 extra time goals combined between them and Long Island. And that match will still have time left when we finish our coverage here from High Point, North Carolina, where Carolina Corps are closing in on a first-round win for a second consecutive year in the U.S. Open Cup. Soda City looking for one final chance. Thompson taps that ball away. Across the park it goes, on the hop. I think the wind took that one, but there's the final whistle. Carolina Corps outlast a valiant Soda City effort. Some brilliant individual moments from Carolina, and they tie an organization record with 4 goals tonight, taking out Soda City 4-2 in the opening round of the U.S. Open Cup. And Eric, you look at this one, great 70 minutes or so for Carolina, and then if you're Soda City, some frustrating moments early on. They get some great moments at the end, though.
Yeah, for Soda City, that first 10-15 minutes of the second half, they were aggressive. They had a lot of energy. They didn't reward themselves for that aggressiveness and that energy. Conceded a few more goals, put themselves behind, had to chase the game, and then the insertion of Lamar Thompson into this second half, and he changed the game for Soda City. And obviously, it was a comfortable match up until then for Carolina Corps, and they're going to be frustrated with the way they finished the match, because on the night were overall dynamic, multi-dimensional, and very explosive on the ball. And Canetti will go down as the game winner with that third goal, but the brace by Rodriguez, they had to feel like they were very fluid on the attack, but definitely some things defensively that they're going to want to tighten up going into the next round.
Let's take a look at the full-time highlights from this match here tonight, and it was a fairly unassuming opening 45. Here was a little bit of a nudge inside of the 18, penalty, and Joshua Rodriguez finishes with a penalty, so it's 1-0 at halftime, and then things opened up. Canetti finds Rodriguez.
Yeah, and even the penalty was Canetti on the dribble, commanding that attention, and then Canetti turning at midfield, exposing that space in behind, and then the ball played into Rodriguez. The brace for Rodriguez, and then this drive to the end line, this cheeky little touch to Canetti, repaying the assist from Canetti to Rodriguez, now Rodriguez to Canetti. And you thought that this game was out of reach, and then Evans just blasts this up into the upper corner. It's always difficult to not only beat the wall, but beat the goalkeeper as well. Evans does just that. And then Lamar Thompson says hello to this game and just changes the momentum. Left-footed strike, catches Pannenberg off his line, and then late goal to make it 4-2 and make this a much tighter game than it was in the 72nd minute.
So that's your final tonight, 4-2. Carolina matches a club record with the 4 goals here this evening, and they're on to the second round for a second consecutive season. Soda City was something to build on for the UPSL champions from a year ago. Plenty more action to come in U.S. Open Cup play. Be sure to check ussoccer.com for all your listings on where you can watch the conclusions of tonight's matches. For my partner tonight, Eric Dobransky, and our entire crew, it's Carolina taking out Soda City by a 4-2 final. I'm Michael Watring signing off. Thanks so much for watching this edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Good night, everybody.